Life has a way of throwing you into the most unexpected situations. My story with Holly was a roller coaster ride filled with passion, heartbreak, and a lot of mistakes. It's a story that starts in a small town, with a guy who thought he had everything figured out until the ground beneath his feet crumbled away. I met Holly at a local bar. She was different from anyone I had ever met, lively, spontaneous, and with a smile that could light up the darkest room. We hit it off immediately, and it wasn't long before we were spending every spare moment together. We were unofficial official, as we like to call it. We were deeply connected, but never quite made things official. It felt like an unspoken agreement between us, a relationship that didn't need a label. Fast forward 2 years, and my life took a drastic turn. I got caught up in some trouble and ended up going to prison. When I first got locked up, I called Holly and asked if she'd be my girlfriend. She said yes, and it felt like a lifeline, something to hold on to during the long nights behind bars. But 9 months later, Holly left me for another guy. It crushed me. I had no idea how to deal with the betrayal. I tried to focus on my time inside, but thoughts of Holly and her new life haunted me. She and this new guy even had a baby together. I wondered if she ever thought about me, if she regretted her decision, or if she had completely moved on. When I was finally released, the world felt different. I was different, but some things never change, and Holly was one of those things. We started talking again, casually at first. We hung out as friends, and for a while, it felt like old times. There was a comfort in her presence, a familiarity that I had missed. One night, things took an unexpected turn. Holly and I ended up getting a motel room together. It was like we had been transported back to a time when nothing else mattered. We spent the night making love, lost in each other. But reality has a way of catching up. Holly was still in a relationship with the guy she left me for. She had a family now. The next morning, lying beside her, I was flooded with conflicting emotions. Part of me was elated, feeling like I had reclaimed something that was lost. But another part of me was filled with guilt and confusion. What did this mean for us? What did this mean for her and her current relationship? I didn't have the answers, and I wasn't sure if Holly did either. Over the next few days, I couldn't stop thinking about what had happened. I replayed every moment in my head, trying to make sense of it all. I reached out to Holly, and we met up again to talk. She was conflicted too. She admitted that she still had feelings for me, but she was also committed to her current relationship. She loved her child and didn't want to disrupt their family. It was a messy, complicated situation. We decided to keep seeing each other in secret. It wasn't ideal, but it was the only way we could both have what we wanted. We continued meeting at motels, stealing moments of passion whenever we could. It was a dangerous game, but we were both willing to play it. The secrecy and deceit weighed on me. I started questioning my own morals and the person I had become. Was I doing the right thing? Was Holly? We were both cheating, lying, and breaking trust. But despite all that, I couldn't bring myself to walk away. I loved Holly, and being with her felt right, even though everything else was wrong. As the weeks turned into months, the situation became more unsustainable. Holly's boyfriend started to suspect something, and the guilt became too much for both of us. We knew we had to make a decision, but neither of us was ready to face it. We were living in a fantasy, ignoring the reality of our actions. Eventually, Holly and I had a long, heartfelt conversation. We laid everything out on the table, our fears, our desires, and our regrets. It was one of the hardest conversations I had ever had. We realized that we couldn't keep going like this. It wasn't fair to anyone involved, especially her child. We made the painful decision to end our affair. It was a mutual agreement, but it felt like a part of me was being ripped away. We promised to remain friends, to support each other from a distance. It wasn't the ending I had hoped for, but it was the only one that made sense. In the months that followed, I focused on rebuilding my life. I got a steady job, reconnected with old friends, and tried to find some sense of normalcy. Holly and I stayed in touch, but our interactions were different now. More guarded, more distant. It was hard, but it was necessary. Looking back, I realized that our story was one of passion and mistakes. We were two people who got caught up in a whirlwind of emotions and made choices that hurt others and ourselves. But through it all, I learned valuable lessons about love, trust, and the importance of making the right choices. Holly will always hold a special place in my heart, but our time together taught me that love is not enough on its own. It needs to be accompanied by honesty, integrity, and a willingness to do what's right, even when it's hard. Our story didn't have a fairy tale ending, but it was real, and it shaped me into the person I am today.